Tonight, a man from Melvindale is finally free after spending more than a month locked up in Saudi Arabia. 63-year-old Mohamad Salem was taken into custody while visiting the country for a religious pilgrimage with his sons. 7 Action News reporter Brett Cass tells us how the family's prayers were answered.
Well, Mohamad Salem is safely landed in the U.S. He's out on the East Coast and expected to board a flight tomorrow morning headed towards Detroit, where he'll be reunited with family after spending 36 days in a Saudi Arabian prison.
So Mohamad was imprisoned for over 30 days. Every day that went by, they had less hope.
For weeks, Dearborn attorney Abdullah Mugni has been on the phone nonstop, trying desperately to secure the release of his client, 63-year-old Mohamad Salem, who was imprisoned in Saudi Arabia.
We had no way to find out if they were charging him, what the evidence was against him, whether there was any reports.
Mugni says Salem, who's from Melvindale, was making a religious pilgrimage to Mecca with his sons. While there was an issue in a line, and Salem made a comment that Saudi officials overheard.
He was livid, he was furious, and out of rage he said, if it were not for Mecca and Medina, we would burn this country to the ground. Those 2 men grabbed him and arrested him. Turned out they were Saudi Arabian officials.
With no information, Mugni turned to the U.S. government and Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib for help.
I mean, it's a very different legal system, I guess, in the U.S., right? I mean, what's the challenge there?
Yeah, I mean, what's the challenge is the lack of really transparency and understanding the process there versus here.
Tlaib says she quickly got the State Department involved, along with the embassy, to be able to communicate with Salem, who his attorney says is diabetic.
One of the things that was really important to myself and the family was making sure that they had his medical records, that they understood his condition.
During his detainment, Salem was moved to a higher security prison. Mugni says things began changing once local media picked up his story.
He said that he was treated very poorly in that prison up until the media started to spread this story. Once the Saudis started to hear that the Americans were hearing about this story and taking it serious, he got completely different treatment.
And now finally, after weeks of talks, Salem was suddenly released, getting a flight back to Washington, D.C. before boarding a final flight home to Detroit.
It was a month for us to finally see him come home to his family.
It took them a month to determine that he was not a threat, but eventually they did, and now he's back on American soil, and we couldn't be any happier.
And he's expected to land probably around 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, where he will be reunited with family and his attorneys at Detroit Metro Airport. I'm Brett Cass, 7 Action News.